think the first disaster that ever hit me as a young boy was Aberfan, and I wasn't a practicing Christian at the time, and I blamed God for it until I went down to South Wales and realised that it was the coal board that was responsible for slag heaps.
It is sometimes our misunderstanding or misinterpretation where we cannot understand the wisdom behind those acts.
Personally, I think we've really dug ourselves into a very, very deep hole in terms of environmental issues. I'm quite disgusted about what's happened. I think unless we do something quickly, this planet is on its way out.
I mean, I'm quite free to believe or not in global warming or anything else. I personally think it's twaddle, but that's only a personal view. The climate's always changed and swung from, you know, means to extremes.
But the key thing is we recognize this is a consequence of what we have done collectively. I don't think it's wise to pinpoint to certain people, but it's a collective cultural thing that we all have to bear some sort of responsibilities, you see.
I deal with parents who've just lost children. You know, I'm not being trite about this, and I bleed and I cry and all the rest of it. But I see a lot of things where God gets the blame, where actually I think he's pointing the finger at us and saying, well, I gave you stewardship of the earth, but if you build slag heaps, if you farm in such an intense way, and the chemicals that farmers have to use now in order to be profitable and all the rest of it, there's a kickback to that.
85% of child abuse takes place in the home. Of all the professional groups in that 15%, peripatetic music teachers are by far the biggest child abusers. A tiny number of Catholic priests have done inexcusable, dreadful things, but I don't feel that I should have to defend myself and my way of life because of what, you know, a small number of people have done.
Child protection officers would say that one of the great places of abuse of children is the church, or the synagogue, or the mosque, places of religious place, because people know they can worm their way into these things and get into positions of power and authority. My understanding is that people who shouldn't have been in positions of power and authority have pushed themselves there and got there and abused that power. I can only apologise. I think it's an absolute disgrace. If we become a hindrance rather than a highway to God, that to me is the ultimate tragedy.
Pius XII exercised heroic discretion. We fairly recently canonised Edith Stein, who was a convert Jewess, and who was done to death at Auschwitz by the gas chambers. She'd become a Christian and a Carmelite nun. She was sent from Germany to Holland for safety because they'd already moved against even converts from Judaism in Germany. But when Edith Stein, when the Nazis, the Dutch bishops, the Dutch Catholic bishops issued a pastoral letter explicitly condemning Hitler and Nazism. And the result of that was that all the Jewish converts to Christianity were rounded up and sent off to Auschwitz. So you could argue that a direct outright condemnation would have actually been counterproductive. Hitler would have ignored it. The church on earth is full of sinners. That's what it's there for.